Hello and welcome back to another Pickled Unscripted. As always, I have with me the talented Matt the Pickled Dragon. Cheers.
Cheers.
And I'm Dracoya. Um, and we could just go ahead and jump right into it. Today we are going to be talking about one of Matt's favorites book, one of Matt's favorite books, The Hordes of the Abyss, the Fiendish Codex.
It is my favorite book that takes place in the outer planes, the lower planes to be specific. It's not very many pages long, 160 pages, but it is a dense 160 pages of pure awesomeness.
Yeah. No, it's a valuable tool. And I know I've said this about every single book we've had so far, but if I was only gonna have one book, it'd probably be this book. And in my defense, guys, I always say that, and then Matt comes up with another book that's even better. So this book, I was looking through it, and there's all these different spells that they have on top of maps and monsters. But one spell that I personally really liked was the Inner Beauty spell. The Inner Beauty spell is where you can cast a spell that changes one's physical appearance to match their inner nature. So if you're beautiful but you're two-faced, you can cast this Inner Beauty spell, and this beautiful person might have an ugly face or two faces. I thought that was such a cool
It's an
concept.
amazing way to role play a detect lies or detect alignment kind of spell. Like, you
Yeah.
know, the inner um motivations of the creatures that you're trying to read are coming to the surface. It's awesome. That was an awesome spot by Dracoya there too, because there are lots and lots of really good stuff in this book. But since I've been running 5e, I don't necessarily always look at the spells anymore. So it was amazing for her to find that, because that's obviously something that could totally be brought forward and be really cool, for 5e. But
Thanks, Matt.
yes,
That's what that's why it's always good to have newbies come into your games, guys. As a general rule, I tend to try and have half my players always be newbies because they just, I don't know, they roll with it.
different perspectives.
Different perspective. After a while, we get jaded and we have like a magical wizard that's a sponge on a stick.
Yes. So, obviously the art in this book is pretty awesome. Most of the art in all of 3.5 is pretty darn awesome.
Right.
And I've still got hordes of notes in here from past sessions because I've used this book so often. And in fact, it's out because I'm using it now for my current campaign. Because they're actually in the abyss. And this book gives so much useful lore to the DM, because the infinite layers of the abyss, it sounds very daunting. It's a lot of different biomes and areas that you've got to be able to populate and explain weather and explain what they look like. And this book takes, you know 10 or 15 of the most famous layers of the abyss and really fleshes them out. uh
Yeah, and it is supposed to be infinite, but I think that it had listed what, Matt, like over 150 layers in the book?
Well, in the back of the book, it has charts, very useful charts that say, okay, for this layer, this demon lord reigns. For this layer, this demon lord reigns. And for this layer, it's disputed and there's a war going on. And so it's pretty awesome from the standpoint of giving the DM either a really nicely populated layer, or oh, there's this 466th layer that doesn't seem like there's anybody there, so I'm going to invent my own demon lord and populate it. And so I mean, it's so full of potential and already chock full of promise. It delivers on the immensity of the abyss
Yeah.
with just a few charts and quite a bit of pretty amazing artwork. and lore.
Well, plus Matt, you when we were talking, you came up with a brilliant idea that I wouldn't have thought. I mean, it's brilliant, it's simple. How do you go between the different layers? Well, he said, Matt, you said that you had your party and they had a lot of different options. So on to go to one layer, it would be a portal. To go to one layer, it would be like you're going through a cave. You had some other options there, Matt. What were some of the other options that you had between
Well,
going?
there are every there is the first layer. Let's just lace one thing out. The first layer of the abyss is called Pezunia, and it is the palace where it's where the palace of 1,001 closets resides, and also called the plane of infinite portals. But it has pits that fall into portals to other layers. This giant chasm you see in the middle of the map there is just dotted and honeycombed with portals that lead to other layers of the abyss. But once you get outside of Pezunia, Thanatos, which is Orcus's realm, might have a link to, some far off layer somewhere else. So the layers are not, I mean, they're visualized as they're stacked on top of one another, but in
Right.
reality, the ability to travel between them is stutter stepped.
Think like quantum physics. That's how I'm picturing it. Quantum physics, almost different universes, different realities that are all going on at the same time. I think they tried to stack things on top of each other in the book visually to make it simpler for most people, but it's really more. What do you
Yeah.
think, Matt? Is that
Yeah.
right?
And then the river Styx flows
Yes.
through a number of different layers, so you could pay the boatman to take you to different places.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right. That was another good idea.
Yeah, and there in Pezunia, the great thing is they've got every one of the chapters where they detail a layer. They gave great artwork to give you an idea
I
what it
love the
looks
art.
like, and maps. Maps are always awesome because they give you a beautiful uh, already rendered either map you can hand out to your player, or a map in the case of the Iron Fortresses down here where the DM can use. And so the Iron Fortresses also guard uh, portals to other layers, but they also guard demons who are projecting into the material plane. So when a demon is projecting into the material plane, their body has to be guarded, and so a lot of times they're guarded in these iron fortresses.
See,
Uh,
and that's so cool and unique. I mean, you could have your players just play through this book and all the different layers for months.
yes. So we've got Asgrat, where you're going to find Grazit. And it's got the map of Zelatar there, the Demon Web with Lolth. Of course, the original Demon Web was much more intricate than this, but this is still cool. Um,
Yeah.
a small map to get you there, but there is just one layer after another, and they give a handy little chart for random encounters for each of the layers that they detail. So if you just want a random encounter, you just get out your old percentile dice, and they give you an idea. A lot of times, what I do is I just skim down really fast and find one that's more fitting for that moment. Of course, Thanatos, which is where you're going to find Orcus and all the undead, um, and a map of Thanatos, which I have used many times. So over the last 30 years, my parties have gone to Thanatos a number of times because has very interesting effects that it has, because it's a negatively charged plane, meaning that undead thrive there, but the living tend to flounder. So it's also an opportunity for the DM to hit their players with unsuspected effects.
Try
For
to kill your
example,
players.
yeah, for example, my party's and in Thanatos, and they just figured out that healing magic does not work in Thanatos because of the negative charges.
Oh.
Now, and the great thing about this book is it's from a different edition that a lot of people aren't as familiar with. And so you could pull out these, weather effects or magical effects and really blindside your party and make them think outside of the box
Yeah.
to overcome them, which is awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, this book is just absolutely amazing.
I think this one's my favorite so far. And I say that with everyone, but this one actually is my favorite.
It
Um,
is,
I like the Demigorgon layer. We
oh
were
yeah.
looking all at the different layers, and I'm like, Demigorgon layer, yes.
Yeah, so we're talking about doing a series on personalities from the D&D universe. So maybe
Yes.
just a video on Demogorgon. But one of the creatures that I'm very interested in is Dagon. Demogorgon's realm butts up against Dagon's uh, oceanic realm. And in fact, the lore here talks about how Demogorgon will go and consult with Dagon and look to Dagon as almost an oracle type figure.
Hmm.
Which what I love is it just gives much more dimension to these creatures and and it gives opportunities for you to really flesh out the story of these creatures as you unfold this lore to the players,
Right.
which is one of my favorite things about D&D. Um, so yeah, the book, whoops, upside down. Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So good.
Yes. So
One.
I do want to mention down in the links below, we've got a link to my Kickstarter, which is coming up. So go follow that. And working with Johnny Fraser Allen, the artist, we will
Hmm.
definitely uh, knock your socks off with this Kickstarter. So check it out. Hopefully, fairly soon, we'll be getting a firm date. We had talked about June at one time, but it sounds like we're gonna push it back maybe a month. So we'll see.
Well,
We're gonna
you
get a
can't rush
firm date
perfection,
for you guys, and we are gonna just rock it by then. So check out
but
this book.
follow it so you
Yeah.
can make sure that you're there whenever they finally do release it, because I am waiting.
But until next time, like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and let us know what you think about a series of D&D personalities. I think that would be
D&D
a lot of fun.
lore.
D&D lore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next time we're going to cover another third-party book. So look for that. It's the demon version of the Book of Fiends. To kind of piggyback on the demonic WotC book of
Hmm.
3.5 era. Ooh. Okay, well, until next time, come on back. Have another round on
Cheers.
us. Yeah.